there, my name is Abby Apple, and I am here today with one of my favorite people in the world, Bob Esquerre, and I get to ask Bob some amazing questions about why he is back in the fitness industry. Now, before I ask those questions, Bob has been known for the past 30 years as the green thumb. Am I correct?
Am I that old?
You are. For as many years as I've known him, as the green thumb of the fitness industry. So first, I want to find out, before I ask all these questions, what does that mean?
It means I have an affinity to make money. Number one. Number two, it means that I'm not afraid to ask for the money. And number three, I'm not afraid of giving value for that money. So if people have value, they perceive value of what I deliver, they're going to pay for it. They're going to be happy they paid me, and they're going back to the bank and get more money to pay me again, because they see value and basically what I bring to the table.
That answers it, thank you. So now, here I'm gonna go with a couple of questions for you, Bob. So why did you retire? Because we know you retired, you got out of the fitness industry. I know you were doing a whole bunch of other things.
Right.
So why did you leave the fitness industry in the first place? Okay. At the top, but you were at the top of your game. Mm-hmm. So tell us why you left.
After 23 plus years, I've pretty much done everything that a professional wants to do. I've taught aerobics, I've taught group exercise, I've been a personal trainer, I've trained managers, I've been a fitness director, I've lectured across the United States, I've lectured in Asia, Latin America, Europe. I've trained trainers, group exercise managers, instructors, owners for 23 plus years. So after doing that and being successful with it and still being modest, low-key, humble, and shy like you, Abby.
Right?
I felt in 2010 it was time to give it up, lay back, and have someone else come in, like yourself, and take charge of the business.
Well,
but that being said, I gave up consulting in 2010, but I had my finger on the pulse by still training clients, teaching indoor cycling, spinning classes, teaching TRX, and still training unofficially trainers, group exercise instructors, and my great clients.
And I was going to say that because I don't think I've ever lost contact with you.
Exactly.
You know, since you retired, which I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a while ago.
Right.
I still talk to you on a regular basis
Exactly.
and ask for your advice. And I know I can say this from personal experience, as I just hit the microphone, but I can say this from personal experience that Bob is one of the most selfless individuals in the fitness industry. And I know you're here to help facilities make money, of course, but you have helped me in this industry, giving me direction and guidance more than anybody else has. So
you're making me blush.
Okay.
You're embarrassing me.
That's all I'm gonna say.
But I appreciate that.
But now we're gonna move on to another question. All right, so what, and I think you already mentioned what was your background in the fitness industry. I know you trained instructors, you trained personal trainers. I know you've done a lot of management, you've done a lot of consulting. So accomplishments in personal training, accomplishments in group exercise, customer service. So I know with customer service, you probably excel at that more than anything, knowing how to get the member to have the best experience in the facility. And really what it comes down to, how can the members have a better experience in the facility? You help clubs, you help management and owners do that. So.
And I'm not going to take credit for that by myself. I'm going to take credit from that based on where I've worked. I think the most profound work environment for me was at Equinox in New York City in the early 90s, because that was my first club experience that was really serious for me, because the Erico family made it a point of only hiring and training the best of the best in their management team. So when they hired me, one, I was thankful for the Erico family because they brought me in as a member of the family, but they knew exactly what their strengths and weaknesses were. So they made sure that they had hired individuals that would help reinforce the training, the knowledge, the base of their goals and their objectives, which was providing 5-star customer service to their members. Now, that being said, yes, I came in as personal training, but personal training wasn't seen as an isolated incident. Personal training was still part of their brand of 5-star customer experience. That was reality check for me. I loved it, and I never learned that anyplace else until I received that indoctrination, that training, that learning, coming into the Erico family back in the day. It was fantastic for me.
Well, a lot of the things that you and the Equinox family put together, the things that you created, are still in place today.
Exactly
They're
right.
still in place
Exactly
today, so
right.
they have stood the test of time, which, you know, that says a lot about, you know, what you've done for these different organizations. So you've also worked, so I see, you know, you've worked with Equinox, but you've also worked with Wellbridge. I know you've worked with, there's so many other facilities out there, and you know, I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but you've worked with, you know, companies really around the globe. I know most of the domestic companies, but you've worked with companies around the globe. So I know you're very flexible, you know, moving around.
That was the uniqueness. I was very fortunate. I had the ability to move.
Yeah.
And I think my first profound move was leaving South Beach, Florida. I was living on South Beach in the sun, 12 months out of the year, and I was recruited to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the 2 years I was assigned there, it was I would say, the warmest winter, or 2 winters they ever had. It was only 40 below zero.
It was only 4.
But it was great.
Right.
It was an experience. But part of my learning experience being there was that until I went there, everyone thought that making money in personal training was a West Coast, East Coast thing. And here I am going from New York City to South Beach to Minneapolis. The first response I received was, wait a minute, this is not New York, this is not LA, this is not South Beach. No one's going to pay for personal training. I said, fantastic. So had the assignment. 9 months into the project, we generated $1 million gross income personal training in 9 months.
Wow.
First time ever with the Wellbridge organization. And it was like, but this is Minneapolis, this is not LA, this is not South Beach, this is not New York City. Right, the issue is you bring value, the money will come. That's the key thing. Great training.
Well, and knowing that part of you, but also knowing that you see the club, the facility, holistically.
Yes.
Holistically, that it's not just one department, it's all the departments
Exactly right.
working together. So the one thing that you and I always saw, like we saw eye to eye on this, was the group exercise program and how that works together. I mean, and I learned that from you, how that works together with the personal training department, and we can and you can probably talk more about that, but bringing those two together.
Exactly, and it was fortunate for me because of my group exercise background and my personal training background, I'm what you would call a hybrid.
Yeah.
I can do both.
You coined it, by the way. I know we hear that term out there all the time, hybrid fitness. Bob coined that term 20 years ago. No one was using that. Go ahead.
Right, so that being said, if you want evidence of my aerobics background prior to group exercise background, if you dig deep, you will find videos and photos of me with an afro, mustache,
and knee socks,
leg warmers, spandex, and a bandana on my right ankle. That's how I started.
You and Dr. Len Kravitz.
Yes, exactly
Together.
right. Dr. Kravitz.
So my experience with you, well, I'm going to step back because I know we started with Reebok.
Right.
You kind of got me into Reebok, but before that, it was my experience, it's kind of funny, is I wanted to train with you.
Right.
Because I was doing fitness competitions.
Exactly.
And I knew who you were through other people, because I knew that's another part of your background that I don't know if people knew, that you trained the aerobics, the national aerobics
championships,
competitors.
Yes.
I mean,
Right.
so I wanted to train with you so I could do some of those crazy moves. Like, so you understand that, like, and you saw me from a distance, and you're like, you mean, are you the one with that extreme lordotic curve?
Yes.
And you'll never be able to do that. It was, and you're right, I haven't done it yet, but you understand not only the business side of the fitness industry, but it's also important to understand, you know, the physiology and the biomechanics of just exercise, and you get that too.
Right.
So, you know, you might want to explain, like, we came from Reebok. I mean, you were instrumental getting me into Reebok, which was my start 20 years ago, which nobody really wants to hear about, but you started
Are you that old?
Yeah.
Yes.
I am. I was teaching in the womb. But you got me in. I mean, that was, I think, for both of us, that was really, and I use the word instrumental a few times, but it was really important to leading both of us, you way before me, but in the right direction. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about that too.
Well, the biggest challenge we have is that there's a need to continue the education of fitness professionals once they get their basic certification. And one of the things we did at Equinox was set up the Equinox Fitness Training Institute, EFTI, which was the first in the nation, probably the first in the world, that was totally focused on creating a higher standard of education for fitness professionals, personal trainers, and eventually group exercise instructors. And we were like, it was difficult to do because we had to spend money, but Equinox was committed to excellence. Equinox was committed to make sure that every member, no matter whether they pay for personal training or not, had a fantastic 5-star experience. So from a customer service standpoint, educating fitness professionals is consistent with creating a 5-star experience. Without one or the other, everything goes disjointed. We bring it all together. Whether you're personal training, whether you're group exercise, even if you're in a spa, the whole concept that the Erico family developed was that it was holistic, and we have an obligation to be service providers to take the customer to a higher level of expectation, not of expectation only, but to deliver what we promised them. And that set the standard for the entire industry back in the 90s and going forward.
And it still does, yeah. I know right now we've got like these, two camps out there. You've got people that are very serious about fitness, and you have influencers, whole different story.
Now that being said,
yeah,
that standard that Equinox successfully achieved, everybody else wanted a piece of that, which helped me because when I left Equinox and I moved on as a consultant, it's like, okay, you were part of the Erico family, you were part of the Equinox experience. We want some of that. So I worked for several years with Rodney Stevens, Genesis Health Club, in Wichita, Kansas. And here I am, again, I go back to South Beach. Rodney gives me a call, and the owner, CEO, and says, I want you to come out, let's sit down, talk about what you can do for me in Wichita, Kansas. I had no desire to move from South Beach to Wichita, Kansas. But he made me an offer I couldn't refuse, but I couldn't refuse because he had a vision of service for his members, which was consistent with Equinox. So he moved me lock, stock, and barrel from South Beach to Wichita. It ended up being me, Dorothy, Toto, and Wyatt Earp in Wichita for 2.5 years. It was a culture shock thing, but we were able to bond together to create an environment where he went from 3 clubs to right now, he has 62 clubs across the country.
He's growing, I know.
He got it. Absolutely.
I know people that are there now that are moving from other places to work with him. So
exactly right.
But what you do also, so you understand this, and then what you do is you have a whole system. You have a system, like a rational system that makes sense, which is redundant, but it makes sense on how you put these programs together, from point A all the way to point Z. You figured this out, how to do this, and you can easily come up with a plan, easily. I know you do it.
Now, that being said, what I did learn from my experience at Equinox is that I don't know everything and I cannot deliver everything, but I know what I don't know. And when I don't know something, I bring in other experts to help underneath the umbrella. So if I have a project that's specific to my skill set, I'll deliver the service. If I can't do it, I'll bring someone else in. I brought you in, Annette Lang, Dr. Wendy Williamson. I mean, everyone who gives something into the equation that I can't provide, I bring them in. So we have an umbrella. So trying to be, and we laughed about it, me being humble and shy, I recognize my weaknesses, but I surround myself with people who bring the expertise and I may not be able to provide. But I understand what they need, and boom, they come in with no problem at all. And that's locally, regionally, domestically, and internationally as well.
You find them.
I find them, exactly.
You find the talent.
Yes.
And he does, by the way, he finds the talent. He finds the talent out there. I think there was somebody else, a mutual friend that we know that you worked with in the past, who said that Bob Esquerre found something in me that no one else had ever seen.
Ann Gilbert. Ann Gilbert is my favorite because Ann Gilbert, when I first met Ann Gilbert, she was this shy person. We met at Club Industry, and she was really humble, low-key, and shy, as so was I. So because I was that way, she and I bonded right away. If you believe that one, I have a bridge to sell you. But no, she was one of my mentees, and today I look at what Ann Gilbert's doing, and it's like I'm pleasantly happy and embarrassed that she's one of mine.
I love it. And I know Ann. Ann is brilliant.
Yeah,
Ann is
absolutely.
She's amazing. what she does.